Ladies and gentlemen, you didn't think we were gonna do it during the international break because everyone else is wondering when are Leeds returning, while we are watching and scouting players from Liechtenstein, from Cyprus, Gibraltar. No, I'm joking, of course, but here we are, even in the international during the international break, and it's a milestone, first milestone for this podcast, for the Unfiltered Football podcast. It's episode number 10. Episode
Mm.
number 10. So it's a very good milestone, for us. Is it 10, Lucky? I
Yes.
haven't sent.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Because I
Right.
was wondering, because we haven't kept track, but I'm pretty sure this is episode number 10. So yeah, I think everyone was a little bit bored. Probably I wasn't during the international break, but I know the man next to me has been keeping busy with football even during the international break. So how are you, Lucky? How is it going? Sorry, the Italian is kicking in. How is it going? And how are you basically in that dark and cloudy town of called Manchester?
Horrid. Yeah. You know what, mate? It's actually I've got the blind down, but it's actually all right today. It's quite sunny today. Windy and cold, but quite sunny. But yeah, I've been all right. Honestly, mate, it's just this is the worst thing about coaching. You're wet every day, every single day. I get home late. It's cold. I'm soaking wet. I've got to wash and dry my clothes for the day after for the next thing, which is going to be cold and wet again. So it's an
Yeah,
endless cycle, mate. Yeah, but yeah, you made the joke about scouting. Yeah, I've done a few. I did a game in
yeah, I
Iceland the
know.
other day, Lithuania. So yeah, I've been not for Leeds, obviously, but yeah. So yeah, it's good, man. Just watching football, and then on my days off, just chilling out, playing some video
Yeah, good
games,
balance.
doing nothing. Yeah, good balance. I've been actually, I've been since the charity game. I was not happy with my fitness levels. So in fact, I was very unhappy with my fitness levels. I couldn't believe how tired I was. So I've been going to the gym, working out every single day, apart from weekends where I have a rest and trying to get fit, mate. Trying to get healthy again, get fit again, get stronger. So that's me, really. What about you?
Yeah, that's good. That's good on you. Good to set your priorities and work on them. Because it's very
Trying.
good
Yeah.
having a good balance. With everything. It's the most difficult task probably. But
Mm.
yeah. I was touching my mustache, of course. I've just remembered too that it is also the month of November. That's something very
Mm.
close to my heart. So people, that is also called Movember. That's why I've decided to keep the tash and the beard growing. The little beard that I have, it's not a very good one, but yeah, I decided to keep it growing. So with both men, it's important
Mm.
to get checked. If you feel to, and it's something that is close to my heart, of course. So just little reminder. But yeah, going back to your
Of course, yeah.
question, yeah, I'm good. I did a podcast the other day with Ray from Raymond the Football. So shout out to him. We talked about Reggiana mainly. He's basically
Mm.
a podcaster from Nottingham. So unfortunately, reminded me of the game at City Ground uh, again. But he was there actually. He was at the game. He's chatting with people involved in football from all over the world. Before me, he had a coach from Bnei Yehuda from Israel. He visited Italy in the past. He's traveled in Ireland recently. So all over the
Nice.
world, basically, in terms of he's really a sort of a ground hopper, and not meaning in terms of a ground hopper that sense that he goes and visits the stadium, actually goes and watches games, and
Mm.
wants to immerse in the culture where he goes there. Even visiting Reggiana a couple of years back, he told me. So yeah, we catch up, and we're gonna do an episode in the future too, because he wants to know about how my passion with for Leeds, started.
Mm.
But apart from that, yeah, pretty all right. I've actually played some video games too, but not what you think. I've stopped FC26. I got promoted with Boro because we talked about it the last time. Started with 0
Yeah.
wins in 6 games, and now I'm flying. Maybe in the
Nice.
future I can talk about the signings that I made. But yeah, I'm actually playing like a strategy game called Suzerain, where you are
All
the
right.
leader in the 1950s of the political leader of a nation called Swordland. It's a sort
Mm.
of simulation compared to what happened during the Cold War. So you have to make your decision. It's very, very realistic, because you have to decide the economy budget, the security issues, if you want to align more towards the West or the East, and
Mm.
when when I play political, historical games, I'm always happy to learn something new and
Mm.
think about being in the shoes of someone back in the days. But I want also to briefly touch something before we talk about what happened in the Leeds field during the break. You talked about scouting. I know you've been very busy with those games that especially I don't want to mention the countries because of course it's down to you, but I'm sure like you mentioned Iceland. I'm sure you scout also in continental Europe. I want to get back
Yeah, yeah.
to 2 years ago. I know we have many people following us from Ireland. Who told you 2 years ago that we needed to sign Troy Parrott after he left Excelsior? We always believed in him. People were not
Yeah.
believing in him. We always believed. We always believe, and now he has rewarded you. At least he rewarded the
Mhm.
Irish. He hasn't, but it's a good profile for the
Absolutely.
future too, at Leeds, because he's doing well at AZ. I just wanted to say that because finally, it's like one of our scouting kids, making it big,
Mm.
finally. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
he was already not because he was a sports product, but yeah, he really changed into the praise in the Netherlands under the radar because people were not following him. But yeah, just wanted to mention that. But going back to Leeds, the main talking point of the week, of course, has been the interview that Farke did with Sky Sports. When he basically his declarations, his declaration plays so suzerain too much. His statements, were well, I think blown out of proportion, because the narrative was that he actually said that after, in a very direct sense, that after we had won against West Ham, we were already safe, and after we lost the last couple of games, we are already down. It turns out, actually, I'm gonna put my glasses on because that I cannot read it otherwise. It actually turns out that he has also spoken with the other Sky, the German branch, Sky Deutschland. And he has elaborated on his statements. He talked about that in a more specific way. So there's always, I think what was reported was in the UK, the point of the iceberg, but there's also
Mhm.
the thing that are down in the iceberg. So basically, he said, with our fans who are simply the most emotional and extraordinarily, and in my opinion, truly the best in the entire league, I would recommend that everyone, if they have the chance, experience a game like this live at Elland Road. It's simply an event incomparable to anything else. Elland Road can truly be a fortress, but that, of course, always comes with pressure and high expectations. Here, after every loss, the world ends. At the championship level, it was after every away draw. You have to change everything, change the manager, bring in new players, and everything is bad. And we get relegated all the way down to the third division. That's how this club is. Then he said, this club has an incredible history in England, having won the championship and played in the European Cup. Championship, I mean, of course, the first division. Uh, However, the truth is that in the last 25 years, we've only spent 3 seasons in the Premier League. We're not currently an established Premier League team, but similar to traditional clubs in Germany, I think also maybe he mentioned like 8060 Munich, he meant 8060 Munich, Schalke, Hertha Berlin. The expectation
Mm.
is that if we're playing in the Premier League, we need to win a title and want to play in Europe. That, of course, is nothing to do with reality. It's about striking that balance, especially in this environment. So that's what he elaborated with Sky Deutschland. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about what he said? And how
Mm.
the fans reacted after seeing what he said? Especially in the UK media, in the British media.
Yeah, I mean, this is the ironic thing. The reaction to it has been extremely over the top and extremely emotional, which
As
instantly just
always.
proves, yeah, which is why we love the club, because it is full of emotions, and it is that. And the manager pointing that out, he's not saying it's a bad thing. I've not seen once where he's expressed that this is a problem and needs to change. He's just stating the fact that it is very emotional, and that's something you have to deal with as a manager, and that would be something you have to deal with. He can't then adopt that attitude. Basically, if he adopts the attitude of the club and the fans, he will then lose his head. Obviously, if you're overly emotional all the time as a football manager, he will always question everything he's doing. So he's just one that's remaining calm within the situation because he has to, and that's his personality. Now, it's so ironic that, like I just mentioned, the reaction to it has been insane. we had a chat about it, and we were a bit like, at the start, we were a bit like, nothing really there. If you want an interview, like an exclusive Sky interview, you want a bit more like kind of motivational or something like that. But for me, the reaction is just, honestly, mate, I find it insane. And it is exactly the reaction that, actually, it's worse than the reaction that Daniel Farke. Farke didn't say people get personal when we lose a game, which they do, by the way. Whenever we lose a game now, it's personal on Farke. I've seen, and I'm saying this, I'm not calling people like, I think it's extremely unfair. I've seen people mention him, calling him things he's doing cowardly. I think I find that insane. Farke has any right to say that in an interview. He could go, yeah, it's emotional and actually gets really personal when we lose. But he didn't. He's not criticising the fans. He's explaining that it can be like that. One thing I do agree, I don't think anyone's ever said when we win, we go to Europe. I think whenever we say that, it's kind of a joke, kind of like a bit of a laugh. I don't think we've said that. I do think he's kind of thinking with that one. But the actual core point and what he's getting at, Bielsa used to call the fan base emotional as well.
Yeah, he did.
Right? It is. It's an extremely emotional, and Farke likes that. And he said it's one of the best atmospheres in the world, definitely in the league. He literally said that in the same interview. He says it's extraordinary because of that emotion. But he's just saying from his perspective, he has to be more calm. He has to be more relaxed. He can't think of Europe when we win a game. He can't think of relegation. And he's right. To do his job right, to do the job of Leeds United, you have to maintain calmness. And Bielsa did that as well. The managers that lost their head at the club, that overthought what they were doing, that overtried, overdid it, got overly emotional on the touchline. We know who they are. They didn't last long, and this is the problem. You have to bring calmness. And remember where we were when we got relegated. We needed a calm head. We needed a calm guy because all the players needed to leave. Everything was on fire. It was all bad. Like it was at the end for Sheffield United last year. Look where they are now. Look where we were after our difficult period. We bounced straight back. Why did we bounce straight back and get 100 points? It's because the leadership we had at the club. It's because the calmness we had at the club, and that's from the manager. If we'd have changed the manager and brought someone in who is emotional, can bring their ideas, change things around, change the structure, it wouldn't have worked. Look at Sheffield United, for example. There's a few other examples as well. We stuck with what we knew. We knew what the job was, and he's done it. I just think it's about, I keep saying this, Andre, it's gotten to the point to me where it is personal now. I'm seeing a lot of personal digs. I know people go, "Oh, you soft guy." I don't care. It's about respect, in my opinion. If he's your friend and you know him, and yeah, of course you take digs and you have a laugh. I ruin my friends and they ruin me. That's the way it is. But I know them. That's my comfort blanket, right? When I greet my friends, the greetings are not very kind.
Yeah.
That's a very. I don't know if that's
I
just a
can
British
guess.
thing or
Yeah,
just.
I can guess.
Yeah.
Nah. We say
But
vets in Italian. It's like old man in the local dialect here. But yeah, like zio, uncle. I don't know why.
yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
are you? Come stai, zio? How are you, uncle? Like, but it's your friend, So yeah, but we don't use slurs or insults. Yeah, that's probably
Tell you what,
no. Yeah, bad words. We don't use bad words. Generally, yeah.
the perfect example is right at the start, bear with me, of Game of Thrones, where Robert comes back to meet Ned, his old friend. And the first thing Robert says to Ned, he looks at him and he goes, "You've got fat." That's kind of the when I see my friends in a while, I'll go, "You've got fat," But anyway, I digress. But the point being, like, people speak to him like it doesn't exist, and if they were in front of him, they'd say these things, and they just wouldn't. This is it. This is about respect. I keep saying this. You don't have to like his football. You don't have to enjoy it. You don't even have to like him, but you can dislike a person being the manager of your football club respectfully. You don't have to get personal with them. You just say, it's just not for me. He's not my type of person, And it's gone to that. And I think what he said in that interview could have been directed at certain people a lot worse. I do think it's been overdrawn. I don't agree or disagree with any of it, to be fair. It's just an interview where he said kind of what he says in every press conference. But he's gone into a little more detail. He's actually praised the fans massively. Obviously, he could say a lot worse about people that have got personal to him, but he hasn't, because why would he? Because he's more professional than that. I just think everyone needs to calm down. But Andre, as we know, I'm not talking about everyone here, by the way, criticizing. There's people that genuinely just criticizing them. That's obviously fine. But people know there's genuine people who just don't like him. And
Yeah.
that's not going to change till he leaves. That could grow. They're getting louder now. It's funny how they're all louder at the same time. Suddenly it's come out and everyone's saying it now. The safety net has been ripped off, whatever. So, yeah, I'm bored of it, mate, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to like a manager personally, honestly, or have to like a manager. You just need to focus on the results he's bringing to the club, his tactics, what's happening on the pitch. I get that at least. I think it's a minority, but a part on the fan base, a loud minority, because they are very vocal on social media. Don't like him personally, reading certain comments, calling him like he's your mate. Danny, in a certain sense, it's not Danny, he's Daniel Farke, the manager of Leeds United. Probably you won't dare to call him Danny in front of him. The only thing that can scare Farke, I think, eye to eye, is a dog, because we know that he doesn't like dogs. So, but honestly, that's the difference between social media and the real life. People think they know better than the manager in a certain sense. I agree that everyone can voice his opinion, and that's what I mean when I say people think that they can know better than the manager. Everyone can voice his opinion, and that's fair. It's a democracy, and it's right. Because if you explain in detail, you have a right, and it's good to engage in debate. But you lose that once you step into moral ground, calling him like with names, and I'm not gonna say bad words, it's my policy, but everyone has read those tweets, calling him Danny.
Yeah.
He's not our main mate. He is the manager. We criticized him. I still think that if they wanted to change the direction of management, they need to make it up, and now they've decided to keep him. So that's decision making. At least they've decided that he's the man. They think he's the man. That they still think he's the man that can take forward Leeds and got us out of this crisis. That's their choice. I still think it's a mixed share of responsibilities between him, the director of football, and of course the players, because ultimately it's them going into the pitch. I still think that the responsibility will be divided with certain percentages. Maybe we can talk again about that in the future, because we talk about that extensively in the past episodes. But what I think about he said, is that maybe it's also a language situation, because of course it's not his mother tongue. Bielsa, when he spoke, everybody can understand what he said and the real meaning of what he said at length, because he had the Salim and then Clavijo, I don't remember his name. Was it Diego or Andres? One of them two, I cannot remember the name.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Andres. Yeah. His name. Yeah, the guy that took over, that was part of his staff. Sam Limrani, of course, was an academic from France that was at the time was very close to Bielsa. Was already with him at Lille, so he spoke Italian, Spanish, French, and English. So he brought him on at Leeds, as his translator, basically. So yeah, I think everything arrived very specifically because he had a professional academic, next to him. I think it also how things can get interpreted, because at length, Falk explained what he meant to Sky Deutschland, to Sky Germany, and we got what he meant. When he spoke to Sky UK, as you know, the things got blown out of proportion. He was portrayed in a sense that he was like really getting back at the fans. That doesn't happen. It also needs to be, in a certain sense, managed. It needs to be under media training, not in terms of the media, but also I mean in terms of the club, because when he explains something, you really need to elaborate that. You really need to get his idea out, what he really said, in a certain sense, and what get out of all that discussion, or was just like when we win, we are safe. When we lose, we are relegated. It was portrayed like black and white. Two extremes. In a certain sense, and of course, it suits the situation because, in a certain sense, Farke was under scrutiny. Fans were a part of the fan base was criticizing him. So, in terms of picking the spotlight and keep people talking about Farke, it really made sense on the media side of it. I've been, and I'm still, a journalist in a certain sense. So, of course, in a certain sense, meaning that I don't write articles now, but I will work for TV, so I don't write anymore, but only do act as a pundit, work as a pundit. But yeah, I think on a media side, if I'm thinking with my mind when I was working at a football club, I think it needed to be studied because a lot of clubs do media training before interviews, trying to face what the possible tough questions can be, and how the club line and how helping also the manager, and of course not only the manager but who's being interviewed, like the player or someone else at the club, a club official, to really get this point in the way they want that point to get out.
Mm.
So now that point got out, but it was portrayed like black and white, in a very specific sense. So that's why I think the reaction was an overreaction from a part of the fan base. Then, if you really dig into deep into that, like we did, and the article quoting is what he said to Sky Deutschland. Now we really get the full picture. The problem is that also people now tend to stop at deadlines without even listening. There's the videos, now with also the subtitles, because people can watch them even if they don't have the volume. They can also read if they are in a situation when they cannot listen to them. But usually, people, if you look at the statistics, why are, for example, I can think about the Daily Mail because I follow them. There's often headlines that really want to get your attention to click on the article and get to know more. But once you get inside the article, you say, "Oh, was it that simple?" It wasn't that big news. Like former England player, and it was just like someone with one cap. Probably.
Mm.
I get you an example. Something like that. And it's even gone to media to big media corporations, in a certain sense, because sometimes they don't know how to cope with the rise of the new media, basically. But yeah, talking about Farke, I think what he said is very similar to actually what Bielsa said at the time. I don't think it's a negative thing. I think he portrays the fan base perfectly. I remember 2 years ago when we won the championship, and even at the start of last season, I kept saying we really need to change our mentality. We are not a big club anymore in terms of, we are a big club, one of the top clubs in England in terms of history, but we need to look at the present. We need to look at the fact that we were crippled by the relegation clauses, I remember 2 years ago, and we are operating a very delicate transfer window 2 years ago. And I think he's saying the same in a certain sense, because people now that Leeds is back, how people are attached to Leeds, the identity, the mentality, the tradition. So a lot in the fan base, having grown up watching the likes of the O'Leary team, with the Wilkinson lads, and the other ones with the Reeve years, they still remember that Leeds, and they really remember when they grew up with Leeds going toe to toe with Liverpool, with Manchester United, with of course Nottingham Forest at the time, Derby County back in the 70s, and then Arsenal, of course, Chelsea. The start of course, we didn't battle much with Chelsea because they started to basically become the actual Chelsea after Leeds got relegated, basically the season after they won the league again, after many years, 2004, 2005. So people expect Leeds to be that Leeds. Historically, in terms of prestige, the club is, the fan base is one of the top ones in terms of, it has top tier, top quality, top pedigree. It has up there, if we have to list to make a table of history, honors, and fan bases. But realistically, if you look at the football pitch and the sporting operations of the club, that side, we are not there. We are not there. We are even behind. Like Adam Vanderwood said that too. I said that last week. We are behind Brentford. We are behind Brighton. We are newcomers now. The Premier League, as we had just played 3 seasons in the Premier League recently, and that's true. Now it's our 4th one after those 3, consecutive ones. So yeah, I think we need to get into the mentality. I remember after we lost at Burnley, it was the first bad game after many good performances, even if we're not picking up points, and people were going, sack him, sack Farke. He's gonna take us down. Even without considering the good performances apart from Arsenal that we had done earlier in the season. So I think people expected us in a certain sense. They're not saying it openly. I said openly, our target is safety. Other people are not saying that. So it's just them to say that open if they really think about that, because it's obvious by how they act, Even other people, I've said my piece. I said if they wanted to change, they needed to change now during the international break. There's others basically that have been against Farke for many, many times. Even when we were playing well, they were saying that we were playing badly. And these are facts. Look at the stats. Look at the games that we played against Bournemouth. We deserve more. Fulham, Spurs. These are the mistakes that newly promoted teams do. The mistakes that lead to us losing points in those games and biting our nails. In a certain sense, because we had good performance if we didn't pick up points there. The points that we deserve at least. I suggest them, if you want to have Farke out, just say it. Just say it openly. Farke out.
Yeah.
Say it openly. If you want, if you think he's not the man to take the Leeds forward, say Farke out, and I want Farke out for these reasons. Just say it. Because the way they act, in a certain sense, apart of the fan base, screams about, I think Leeds should be mid-table. I remember when we started the season well, I remember people talking about, we're gonna get Europe. I said in one of Joe's streams, Sunderland are gonna get Europe. After the stream that I did 2 weeks ago, I think with Joe, I read a comment, by one viewer, one of the followers of Joe said, Andrea said that Sunderland were going to Europe, were challenging for Europe earlier in the season. Yeah, because why? Why? Because they decided to invest, and that's a plan that makes them very similar to what Forest did. And look what Forest were last season. They got qualified for Europe. Now they're struggling, but they are playing in the Europa League this season. They were supposed to play in the conference, of course, but we know what happened. So yeah, just say it openly, But right now, Leeds is a newly promoted club that needs to fight for every point. Even a point away is valuable in the Premier League, and needs to pick up all the points it can pick up at home. But away, every point is valuable. I don't want to hear people, if we draw away, say, very, very bad. We're not winning games away. Like if you draw, for example, at Bournemouth, it's still a good, valuable point. We need to pick all the points we can get away from home. Because our target is to stay up. Even 17 with 2 points from the red zone in the final day of the season, it's good. It's still a good season because we stay up, especially with the squad. And my opinion, mate. So yeah, I was probably too lengthy in that, but I really care about people really focusing on the football matters, and where we are now, really understanding what type of club we are now. We are not, in terms of history, yes, but we are not there yet. It takes time to plan and to rebuild that Leeds.
Yeah, completely agree, mate. And this is the problem. It went from, you can criticize the manager, to all I'm going to do is criticize the manager because now I want him out. Like the fact that it's so kind of it's not weighted right for me. People have held so much anger in for so long. Now it's all coming out really quick. So it'll be, I don't like this manager. I don't want him here. And then it'll be every single thing he does. Every single little thing he does is a massive criticism. It gets personal. It gets messy. It gets very disrespectful. I just don't like it. The reason I supported Leeds is because I had no choice, right? My dad took me to Ellen Road. That was it. I'm a Leeds fan. But I know so many people at my age I was then. And the main bulk of my growing up when I was a young man, say 9, 10, 11, 12, that's when most people go to school. They meet friends who are all Man United fans, Liverpool fans. That's when kids change to them clubs. Now it'd be Man City as well in that group. Happened to my brother. who was a Leeds fan and then went to school and then changed to what his friends were. None of my friends were Leeds fans. They all supported Man United or Liverpool, but I didn't change because to me, that was the club I loved. And because of the time I got into that club, I found it really, really hard to be personal with any manager or player because I knew we weren't great. That was my expectation every year was I just want to see us do quite well. I just want to see some players I like. That's why I absolutely love that Grayson team. And I'll never
Yeah.
criticize Simon Grayson ever because what he brought to me, the memories he gave me as a young man loving football were great. Even if it was little things in League One, some in the Championship every now and again. To me, and it
That's
ended,
FA Cup run too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was
FA Cup
brilliant.
run, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Man United one, obviously, the other one as well with Spurs, where we got a replay. Beckford winning the penalty, what a dive. But like those memories for me are everything. I never wanted to change what club I supported. I don't know what it is. Is it loyalty? Is it stupidity? But so for me now, the second Farke's having a bad period, having come off a season where we hardly ever lost all season, 100 points. Yes, for me, he's got a bit of wiggle room. Of course, he has. I can accept a few bad performances. I find it insane that we can go from literally being one of the best sides in relative to division, of course, in terms of winning games in our history, to this guy is terrible. He's the worst ever, and all this stuff. And he's this, he's that, he's a coward, he's this. I find it genuinely baffling. To me, I give managers at my club a chance, my club at Leeds United a chance, because that's kind of my version of Leeds. That's what I got brought up on. I give these guys a chance, and now obviously doing it to some extent, it's difficult. And you go through times where it just don't come off. You dip in performance, you don't quite work. Yeah, if that happens for long enough, you deserve to lose your job. That's the way it is, right? And this is the point. People say, I saw it on Joe's stream the other day where Joe was going at people, which we love to see. We love to see Joe back having a go at people. There's nothing better. But
he's a fighter. He's a fighter. Yeah,
he is,
always
with his flat cap on. Yeah,
he really cares about his points. He really defends what he thinks about, but also lets others, have a debate with others. So, but he really likes to engage in debates and exchanging, these opinions in a very fierce way. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was wrong on Kyle Walker. But anyways, so I'll clip this bit and send it to him. But my point being, there was people on there saying, yeah, but when we lose a few more, you'll be Farke out. But I don't think this is a conversation of Farke in and Farke out. I think it's a conversation of are as a fan base, the people that are getting personal, is that fair? Is that right? Should you be doing that as fully grown adults, most of them? Children, children are children. But as an adult, should you be really getting personal? And should you be really this offended by an interview where he called everyone emotional as an adult?
Yeah,
should you be overly emotional about that?
Exactly.
It's all too much for me, mate. But this is just my version of it, right? Obviously, it's just my opinion. If Farke needs to go and it's not working, and that might be the case. Look, I think we're both in a situation right now, mate, where we're not sure what's going to happen. We don't know. I do think the Villa game is huge, but that's a different subject to me. Whether the manager's good enough to keep Leeds up or not, it's a different discussion to respecting the manager and not getting personal.
Absolutely.
With him. And I think that's where the lines have been blurred for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to see, of course. Club football is returning with the Villa game, but another type of football, international football, has been played in the last few weeks. In the last 2 weeks, unfortunately, and we will get why I said that. But yeah, I think the final stage before the playoffs for the World Cup spot has been finalized. So we already know the majority of the teams that will play in the US, Mexico, and Canada next year. I think it's going to be a big party. Remembering how the '94 World Cup changed. There's also a good book, I think, made in England called about the '94 World Cup, written by Matt Evans. In the UK, it's not available, I think, in Italy. But yeah, how the '94 World Cup changed the perspective. The first modern World Cup in 1994 in the USA. So yeah, we know a lot of the teams already. Gonna go through them very quickly. From Asia,
Mhm.
of course, Australia. I think that I think
Just
many.
just wait there, Andre. I'm gonna get the picture up 1 second,
Yep.
and I'm gonna test my flag knowledge,
Okay. Yeah.
which I think is very good, but I'll find out.
Good,
But
good. But yeah, there's also many teams where you get the picture what I think Leeds fans can get behind, apart from England, of course, because the majority of Leeds fans, of course, are from Leeds, from England. I know Cameron Roof disagrees, but there's also many others, many other fan groups, and people really care about Leeds and Leeds as a community outside of Leeds. So yeah, Lucky. Okay, let's
right,
start with from the top. Tell me the teams
right.
that have qualified for the
Top
World
ones
Cup
are
so
easy.
far.
I
Yeah.
actually looking at these. I think I'm getting all these. So we've got Canada,
Okay.
obviously,
Yes.
Mexico, the US, obviously the hosts, Japan, New Zealand, uh, Iran. We've got Argentina, Uzbekistan, South Korea. That is Jordan. Then we've got Australia, Brazil, Ecuador, obviously Uruguay with Marcelo,
Marcelo. Yeah.
Colombia, Paraguay, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, and we'll go Algeria, Ghana with the black star in the middle. Then we'll go England, Saudi Arabia, obviously the Republic of Ireland. We'll talk about that. Then we've got Portugal, Norway, and on the other side we've got Cape Verde.
Yeah.
Then we've got South Africa, Qatar, Senegal, France, and Croatia. Smash that.
Yeah. Yeah. Smash that. But you smashed that. I think FIFA forgot to add some flags there. I think because the graphics was on the social this morning. When I visited that. So absolutely, they missed Panama, Haiti
All right.
returning after a very long time. I think after
Yes.
1974.
Saw that, yeah.
Curacao, the smallest nation to ever get to a World Cup, former Dutch colony. They have a Dutch
Right.
coach, Dick Advocat, very famous Dutch coach. They have a lot of players born in the Netherlands that have either Curacao heritage, let's call it like that, because I don't know the proper adjective. Then, yeah, I think another one they're missing, of course. Yeah, I think that's all, honestly. Yeah, the Asian ones. Yeah, Spain, of course, the other European nations. Spain, um, Croatia, of course, Belgium. Yeah, Croatia was
Yeah.
already there, by the way.
Mhm.
Germany, Scotland, of course,
Mhm.
Switzerland, and Austria, of course. Austria, basically, the big results of the week, of course, have been Austria equalizing with Mikhail Gregoric against Bosnia Tom in Vienna. It
Mm.
didn't look like a home game because after the war, you know how many Bosnians emigrated and escaped war in Austria. There were like 4 or 5 players in the Bosnian national team born in Austria too. So yeah, 1-1 and they qualified. But yeah, the big results of the week was at Upton Park. Our Scotland was again being Scotland because with one man up, because of them were 1 man down because of our old friend Rasmus Christensen getting sent off. Most popular man in Scotland these mornings. So they were struggling, started to ramp up the pressure in the final minutes, and in added time, Kieran Tierney, little deflection with Morten Ullman, 3-2. Then Denmark were pushing, trying to get to go for an equalizer. Scotland recovered the ball. Kenny McLean from halfway line past our former player Kasper Schmeichel into the net. And yeah, it's very good actually to see that both England and Scotland will be there. Hopefully they face each other. There's a lot of people with English and Scottish heritage, in the United States, so that would be good too. But yeah, a big evening also for our Welsh lads. Dan James, Ampro didn't play against North Macedonia. They won 7-1. They won against North Macedonia. We lost against them when we missed the World Cup the last time. So that tells you a lot about the tables have turned. But yeah, Dan James scored, was on fire. The Joe Rodon class as ever. Especially with Wales. Carl Darlow again, solid. Amparo played the first game when they won in Vaduz against Liechtenstein, missed the other one. But yeah, Biol didn't have a great international break. Reading the Slovenian press, they lost 2-0 against Kosovo. I think they drew 1-1 yesterday. No, it wasn't yesterday, on Tuesday against Sweden. Sweden really struggling too. Gudmundsson, one of their more consistent players, despite the level of the national team. They have great quality, but they are really struggling to get a group together. So they will be in the playoffs. They will be in the playoffs like another team, the Fallen Giants. I know I've sent you a picture also of the UEFA playoffs, so we can see which fate Italy will face.
Seeing your flag in there, Andrea, just makes me go, what's going on?
I was talking with my high school friends, the other day, and we remember that, and you remember that too, probably, because we had just finished the 3rd year of high school, going towards the 5th year, the final year of high school. It was 2013. We had a barbecue, all of us at one of them places, it was Italy against England. And Marquisio scored in Brazil. That shot from Sterling from outside looked like a goal, but it wasn't a goal, Then Sturridge equalized, and he did his dance,
Yeah.
Then Balotelli froze again like a statue, like he did 2 years before at the Euros against Germany, and we beat England. We were looking very good because we were Euro finalists. Then we lost against Costa Rica and lost against Uruguay. But we were talking about that, and we realized we were 17 that night. Who would have thought that World Cup game would have been the last Italy World Cup game we would have seen in years? Because now we are 29. We have jobs. We are working. At the time we are fatter. Some of us don't even have hair anymore. So not me, fortunately, but one of my friends is gone completely bald, probably because of the stress of not seeing Italy in a World Cup. But it's mental. It's mental, honestly. It's mental, and the problem is that you see that. And luckily, we are in pot 1, so we will face in the semi-final at home in Bergamo. So you see that the federation, again, the FA, is not understanding what's at stake, because you need to play that game at one of the stadiums in the south of Italy where there's more passion, not in Bergamo. You need to play that in Bari or in Naples or in Palermo, in Lecce. Play at one of those stadiums, those large ones, because we will be facing. There are nightmares returning, when like that song in NBA 2K years ago, like all the memories, they come back. Sweden, they knocked us out in 2017, North Macedonia knocked us out in 2012. Northern Ireland, the draw that we had at Windsor Park in the qualifiers for the last World Cup didn't allow us to overcome Switzerland. And so we were forced to play North Macedonia. Romania, we always beat them, Euro 2000, Euro 2008, I was there actually at that game in Zurich. So I think the chances are I suggest not to underestimate those sides, because Sweden we've seen Italy falling apart against Norway at the San Siro because of Åland, Sorloth, Strand Larsen, those type of players, Norway has more pace than us in midfield on the wings. Nusa, Oscar Bob. Sweden probably doesn't have that, but they have Gyökeres and Isak up front. And we don't have the players physically that can match them. Romania is a good side. Dennis Mann, Raziu, Birlija is in a good moment of form. Yanis Hagi too, They have a good group of young players that played at the Olympics in 2021 too. That is coming up. They have some good players like Razvan Marin, Marius Marin too. North Macedonia are the best outcome for us because we've seen them struggling apart from Elmas and Bardi. Probably they don't have... and Fojani is aging too. So They are probably the best out of the lot. Miowski too, they have, but yeah, not much. And Northern Ireland people, if we get drawn against Northern Ireland, people will say, "Oh, here in Italy, oh, good draw. Yeah, Northern Ireland, they have not qualified for the World Cup since 1986, you know." But you know what? I also follow them when the Rams meet, you know, because of course his connection with Northern Ireland, tweets about them, of course. It's a good group of young players mixed with some players that have risen to veterans pretty quickly, like Conor Bradley, for example. Isaac
Mm,
Price, good player, and they have the veterans like McGuinness, you know, those McNair.
yeah.
And the last time we faced them, they had a different manager because it was Ian Baraclough. Now they have Michael O'Neill again.
Mm,
We didn't know how to break them down. We didn't know how to break them down. We always struggle against them, and they run Monderos because they used to play English football at championship level, maybe, but it's still English football. So
what
it's not looking good because if yeah
I was just sorry, mate, I was just gonna say, like, why do you always struggle to qualify? Do you know what I mean? For a country that's won it and is consistently, one of the best in the world at football, when you're in a tournament, you usually do quite well, from my experience anyway, of remembering.
yeah
What is it about qualifying then? Why is that? Do you reckon you're more of like, you guys are more for the occasion, the big game, the big occasion? So when it comes to the tournament, obviously you always turn up. Like I remember when obviously Roberto Mancini was there and you turned up, and everyone before it was kind of just a bit like Italy, kind of just not too sure. And I remember watching you in your first game. Was it against Belgium? I can't remember.
the first one at Euro 2020, yeah, against Turkey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Turkey. And you played Belgium though, right?
Yeah, we played Turkey, then Switzerland, Wales, Austria, Belgium, Spain, and of
Yeah.
course England in the final. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was watching that, and kind of just the Mancini and the staff in the suits just looked the part, and every single person just played like just to their fullest ability. It's like as soon as you get there, it's like, right, we're here now. Now this is the final part. This is the this is the final. Every game is a final kind of mentality, and that's what I kind of see. Whereas with England, it's kind of the opposite. I mean, look at qualifying now. I don't think we've conceded a single goal, mate. I mean,
Yeah.
going into a tournament where you've not conceded a single goal in qualifying, you should be the favourites. Do you know what I mean? And we always are up there. Yet when it comes to the tournaments, there's a lack of, I don't know what it is, because our fans that go out there are always really good. It's kind of this, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to really define what our problem is, because it's not a talent thing. It's not this. It's not that. I think maybe there's a coaching issue there. Elite mentality coaches in the English game. Tuchel is the answer potentially. Like I actually enjoyed. I watched the game the other day actually. I think it was it Albania? I believe we played. Was it that one?
Yeah, you played it in
Yes.
Tirana, yeah, against Albania. Yeah.
And although the score wasn't massive, the way in which you played is very different. I actually didn't find it boring. I found it quite, the way in which we played and the way we moved. Every single time we get the ball, the idea is forward pass, even if that's into crowded areas, into the Foden's feet or into the striker's feet. And then it's little 1-2s, into movements, little changes. I love it. We actually look like a team that can break blocks down. And that's been our biggest issue for years and years and years. It's been boring because teams naturally sit deeper, and that's all it's been. No one hardly ever plays against us, and we've always struggled to break that down. Whereas now we've got this kind of high-end tactical coach in Tuchel who's just giving the players confidence to play in these tight spaces and constantly play forward passes, and we look like a team. The passing and the movement looks a lot more natural, not engineered. It's quite free-flowing. So if he can find that, obviously he's German, and that's what I'm trying to get at. If he can find that real, he can't do it. He's not from the country, but if he can find his own passion and align that with the players of England playing the way they can, I actually think we can be one of the most competitive teams this year. Well, next year. So yeah, it's weird with us, you guys as well. It's never straightforward. You look at Germany, for example, or I don't know, one of the top nations who just seem to cruise through and then get to the tournaments and win it. Whereas we cruise through
Yeah.
and do rubbish. you scrape through and win. we're kind of strange, aren't we?
Yeah,
But
it's
I don't
happened a
know.
lot in
Yeah,
our history, not just also side of football.
yeah,
Yeah, when we work on it, we always find solutions in the most unimaginable ways. But yeah, I agree. England is improving a lot under Tuchel because I think he brings the outside perspective to. I think it was down more to the circumstances, because Southgate was it was his
mm,
first big managerial job. So if you go down, he always was consistent, but in the big games like Croatia, Italy, and France, France, he was unlucky because if Kane
we
scored that
played really
penalty,
well.
probably,
We played
yeah,
really well as
you
well.
were better than them.
Mm,
You were better than them those over the
mm,
Alps. So yeah, I won't blame for that. But even against Spain, I think the free space that was allowed against when Zubimendi came on in the second half. I remember the pundit say, "Was this Zubimendi?" Like he was playing for Real Sociedad all the time, and nobody knew about him. But yeah, it was yeah, great player, Zubimendi. I think it was more down to the circumstances and bad in-game management in certain games.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, overall, I think Southgate did an amazing job. I'm not his biggest fan in terms of how he plays football, but even against Italy, I think he landed that. He landed us. And when after the goal, you decided to retreat back into your own half and counter attack because in the middle, who could have matched Declan Rice and Calvin physically
mm,
and with the pace of Rice? When he recovers the ball, no one.
mm,
And even Maguire, with his center progressions with the ball,
mm,
I think he needed to manage that better, honestly, because we were all small, fast to move the ball, but not much physical. And in the middle, we had Barella who was moving pretty well. Now he's not moving pretty well anymore. He looks really, really, really tired. He's become a link-up player. Unfortunately, he's become a link-up player. He's not more. He's not a box-to-box player anymore. But yeah,
mm.
apart from him, we had Verratti and Jorginho, so two number six basically. Verratti can move around like Tanaka, in a certain sense, very link up
Yeah,
to. Jorginho is a typical number six. He doesn't have much pace. But yeah, it's more down to the circumstances. Talking about Italy, on the other hand, I agree with you. I think we are more tournament animals rather than qualifications, because I remember the qualifiers when before the failure to qualify for the 2017 World Cup, they were lived by the press and everything. Since I was a kid, like friendlies, because we were always winning, we were always doing well, at least drawing. I rarely remember Italy losing a qualifying game. I remember in 2006 against Slovenia, just one we lost in Ljubljana. But then after that, I rarely remember a loss before 2017. Uh, so it was really really fun to watch. We lost. I remember Ivy lost at the Stade de France after we won the World Cup. We faced France like 2 months later, with the same teams basically, apart from 2 or 3 changes, and we lost 3-1 against them with a new manager, Donadoni. But yeah, the mentality has a lot to do with that, I think, because when Germany failed in the World Cup 1998, Euro 2000, then they had that good spark at when they reached the final in 2002. Then very terrible Euros 2004. They had a plan. England in the 90s implemented the plan of actually our Wilkinson. Our Wilkinson was the one that inspired. I keep mixing woo and that. I need to change that habit. I keep mixing woo, which, and that. Is the one who actually inspired, based on La Masia, the implementation of St George's Park when he left Leeds. When he worked for the FA, he even took charge of the national team as a caretaker once, I think. Uh, but
nice.
yeah, you acted. We never acted. That's the problem. We never acted. We have good national teams, but it's more down to individual talent, I think, because in youth academies in Italy, I want to take Spain, another Mediterranean nation, as
Mm,
a mirror. In Spain, they teach freedom, they teach technique, they teach ability, adaptability. They let players express themselves. The mentality in Italy is different. Now they teach to young players, tactics, tactics, tactics. We need to play 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. Let players of 13, 14, 15, 12 express and develop.
Mm.
When you arrive into ultimately the goal of a youth team is develop players for the first team, is not getting results and winning trophies. I don't care if a under 21, 23 wins the youth league. Okay, it's a plus. It's a mirror that you are working well. But if a team finishes seventh or eighth in the youth league, but brings in the future 3, 4, 5 players to professional football, I think it's still a success, because you have developed players. The youth teams are for developing players. I think it's down to the senior team to actually get the results, and that's what happened with the national teams too. The Italian youth national teams are doing well. They've won the under 17 Euros in 2019, I think, or 2021. I can't remember the year, but as our under 21, so the step below the senior national team, done well in the past. We have barely qualified for the quarterfinals in recent editions in the under 21s Euros. We don't qualify for the Olympics since 2008. It's a long time for a nation like Italy. It's a very long time. And another thing is Serie A. It's the problem. The clubs only care about themselves, and they have an antiquated view. They have antiquated grounds, all the stadiums, all the facilities. They have started to invest in women's football because they were obliged to. 2 weeks before the league was about to start, the league, the women's Serie A, didn't even have a TV rights deal. Eventually, the zone stepped up, and Serie A is one of the leagues with the less income from abroad foreign TV rights. So it shows you that Serie A is not attractive. It's not sellable. It's not marketable, because France, you have Marseille, you have PSG, who did the web series, on Prime, on YouTube. In England, you have Leeds, Sunderland, Spurs, Arsenal, or nothing. Other clubs too. In Spain, Barcelona did that. Real Madrid did that. You have La Liga also making a documentary in episodes on Prime about the Copa del Rey. And also about, I remember, Dreams, what was called, that one, when they were following a player, an executive, a sporting director, a manager, and a president. So they were putting the spotlight into, okay, we don't have the best stadiums in Spain, but that is our football. Look at the excitement, the talent, the dribbling, the unpredictability, the fan base, the beauty, the tradition of even the small side from Extremadura, one of the most famous provinces in Spain, can face and have a great day against Real Madrid, for example, or Barcelona if they face them in La Copa del Rey. The Italian Cup is restricted only to 3 teams from third tier. 3 teams, sorry. I'm gonna do like in that movie when they I don't know if you watched Inglourious Bastards, when they eventually caught the British spy acting as a German officer, and his cover gets blown up because it says 3 beers like this, but in Germany they do this. So the German officer eventually he discovers that he's dealing with a spy because of that. He blows up his cover. But yeah, the Italian Cup only is open to the top 2 tiers, Serie B and Serie A, and Serie C. Serie C, just 3 teams. The problem with Serie C is that you have League One, and League One has a very good level. Championnat National in France, good level. Dritte Liga, Germany, good level. In Spain, maybe it doesn't have a great level as such, but at least it gives a platform to youth players, proper youth players, very good players. The problem in Italy, you have 3 groups forming up a league of 60 teams in the third tier, with the teams who have a lot of money, fallen giants, and then you have teams like from a village with the 300 inhabitants. The gap is huge. and nothing has been done to reform the state of Italian football, because you have semi-professional players. Okay, they are not semi-professionals, but the level of their quality is like that, playing in the third tier. Then you have a big gap when they jump on Serie B. And even the gap between Serie B and Serie A is getting huge, because Serie B is probably the best league below the Championship, I think, in England in terms of second tier leagues. The problem is that even Serie B doesn't have great TV rights. They were struggling to sell the TV rights. They had sold those for 6 millions, I think, in the previous deal, and now they've sold that for 3-4 millions. So it's dropped, and the teams have less money to spend. They don't have great infrastructure, So even the gap between Serie A and Serie B is really difficult. See the recent times, Como, but they have a huge ownership, But the other teams like Venezia and others have gone straight back down, It's very difficult. It's a structural issue, I think. It's a structural issue all about. We need to reform Italian football, but there's no will, because the old guard, is still keeping the position of power in the federation. Yeah.
He is weird, mate. I think going back to before about our problem, and again, I don't think it's talent. I think we have ridiculous depth of talent. There's even like, for example, our youth teams as well, similar to yours. Ours just win constantly. And you look at our youth teams, even our under-19s or our under-20s, there's players in there that are starting in championship teams. There's players in there that are, coming off the bench in the Premier League. Our 21s are full of players that start in the Premier League or in top tiers in Europe. The talent in our country is insane, and that's never going to change. So from that perspective, I think that's the way football is here. Kids, everyone plays football basically, whether that's at school, out of school with your friends, on the park, in the cages, on any field, on the roads. That will never change. So this country will keep harboring talent, because that is kind of all the kids do here. That's our main thing.
Yeah.
But in the coaching side of it, it's very different. I think there's a massive lack of alignment between non-league and the FA in terms of coaching.
Yeah.
So, for example, the FA teachers, and I've did the course in the summer. A lot of the FA's ideas and going through academy coaching as well are about style of play, like you mentioned as well in Italy. Playing out from the back is a big one. Inverted fullbacks, wide centre backs that can all play the ball. Whereas you look, and in academy settings, that's replicated very similar throughout. There's quite a good alignment there. But in non-league, obviously with state of play and the physicality of it and the pitches and stuff like that, that style of play isn't replicated, generally speaking. Some teams do it, obviously. And the coaches don't like playing it. A lot of coaches will tell you here, non-league coaches, that you can't play like that in non-league. So there's a big kind of gap between what is our style as a country, what should we be, and I don't think that's creating coaches that can be kind of diverse enough, if that makes sense. It creates coaches that are good in one way, but not coaches that can maybe be as diverse in the Premier League or in the Championship consistently, or in Europe, for example. So it's quite, and I'm not saying, look, these are not bad coaches. I'm just saying, in order to get to the top, there clearly needs to be something to change, and I'm trying to figure out what that might be. And as a nation, we're very stubborn. I think very critical as well, which I don't actually like. That's one side of.
You're an island, remember that.
That's exactly. Yeah, true. That is true. That is one side of coaching here I don't like. There's quite a dismissive approach to anyone else other than your way, which I'm not really a fan of. I don't think there's a certain way football should be played at any level. I think if you have the right players, you can play any way you want. Obviously, the arguments are managers are trying to play a style when they don't have the players required to play that style, right? Teams are trying to play Pep Guardiola-esque football when they don't have players who can play with the football very well. That seems to be an issue. But then if you go through the academy system, you go through that angle, a lot of these kids are very technical, extremely technical. But then when they don't quite make it and they have to go through non-league, these technical players get left behind, because in non-league, it's about physicality, not technicality necessarily. You'll see a lot of physical players from non-league who dropped out the academy system, maybe 14, 15, 16 years old. They'll play non-league 3 or 4 years and they'll come back up. But technical players that got left from the academy, I think most of them drop out of non-league within the next few years because they haven't got the physicality to compete. And that's the sad thing about it. A lot of our highly technical players, unless they're ultra elite, like a Phil Foden, for example, they don't make it. Whereas our physical players, might take longer to develop. Watkins is a good example of that, a quick, direct player. They will make it, but that's the difference of academy football and non-league football. One is purely physical, more or less, and one is more or less technical. So that's a big problem for me. And that in time has created a gap between, I guess, the coaches' ideas and how they should play, because it's vastly different. If there was a situation where non-league was more technical or academy football was more physical and they're more interlined, I think we'd see coaches who can play more varied football. But yeah, that's I think our issue in this country is the connection between the FA and youth football and academy football, and then the connection between the FA, youth football, and non-league. It's very big. That's why you look at our team now, and we do have technical players, like I said, but they're all really good technical players. A lot of our bench players, or a lot of our players, their core strength is their physicality. And that's kind of the problem, right? Imagine Harry Kane is the way he is, but maybe he was 3 inches smaller and weighed half he did. I doubt he'd have made it.
Even Bellingham, it's a good mix, but he's getting more and more physical, in a certain sense at Madrid. Real Madrid,
Rashford, for example, a player there who is bigger than he used to be. There's so many examples. Like, unless you're elite technical, like Phil Foden, who came through Man City, who are purely Pep's football, obviously, that's a perfect environment. Say if Phil Foden, I don't know, was born in Leeds and Man City didn't have all the money and he stayed at Leeds till he was 21, and he's the size he is, would he have been developed in the same way he would have done at City? I'm not sure. Maybe not Leeds, because at that time it was Bielsa. Maybe that was a bit different. But say, he was brought up in, I don't know, any club in non-league, he would have Stockport, something like that's where he's from, right? So he would have struggled to get that right training to develop his technical side. They would try to make him more physical. If he'd have gone to non-league first, I doubt he'd have come out of it, is my point. So it is about where you are. It's about who sees you, what you get. If you're a small technical player, I can tell you from personal perspective, being technical in non-league or in lower league football, whatever level that is, it's so hard because, quite simply, the ground, the pitches are all terrible. The weather's horrible. These are little things that affect it. So yeah, football here is weird, because we do harbour talent. We have a lot of talent. We always will. That's just the core of our. 5-year-old here, you're kicking a football about in the park or on the streets. That's the way it is, and that won't change. But developing more technical talent, I think we do struggle, unless they're elite. So that's kind of it. But we were gonna end off on. Unless you want to.
No, I wanted to jump on what you said. I was actually searching for that, because you talk clearly about something that we can touch very briefly here, but can be the topic of one of our future episodes. I want to bring this up, because you mentioned specifically just an example of Leeds, of course, but we're gonna pick this up. It's of course you can find it on LFC data. Very appreciated, very known presence on Twitter. I still call it X, to be fair, with all these stats and data. This is a list of all the recent. You can go back to even the start, when Leeds was formed, basically. But this is a list of the players that Leeds have produced from the academy products, in recent times, basically. And the last one, of course, is Harry Gray. But realistically, apart from Archie, that's my question, Matteo Joyce joined for Espanyol. He had his final part of development at Leeds, so it's still an academy product, I don't think Gnonto was an academy product, to be fair. He played a full season with the he barely appeared, for the under 23s at the time, But yeah, basically, if you look at the recent players that have come out of our academy, basically, very few. Maybe Archie, Matteo Joseph is playing in Spain, of course, in La Liga, but he hasn't the finished product yet. He is not the finished product yet. But apart from Archie Gray, how many of these players have made it to being solid, consistent, top 2 tiers Championship and Premier League players? Archie's playing at Tottenham, Darko, JB, All City, yeah. Then you have, of course, Ari. We need, again, I will say that every time Ari is mentioned, we need to keep him developing peace. We don't need to rush him, because now there's people talking about him, like he's the second coming of Viduk in a certain sense. Yeah, Clayson was really, when he made those appearances 2 years ago in the Championship, people were talking about him, like, yeah, let's keep him in goal. Now he's playing, I think, again in Denmark or in Norway. But yeah, you see them, of course, Crescencio had already played in the Eredivisie, in the final part of the season before, he had even a loan from Feyenoord to another club. So yeah, final part of development, but he had already played in senior football as well as Joe Gerrard, because he had played for Wigan, but yeah, apart from them, Sam Greenwood has moved to Poland now, I think. Charlie Criswell, yeah, a very good product. Yeah, unfortunately, didn't really get to break into the Leeds side, yeah, because I think he could have been useful 2 years ago. But now he's paying to lose, and I think he will get a big move soon. Probably, big move, but probably a return to England at a mid-table side. But yeah, apart from them, yeah, Pascal, he arrived from Ajax, so yeah, still class and academy product, and I think he developed at Leeds, so yeah, absolutely, Pascal too. But yeah, apart from them, I don't think we have produced players that have, yeah, Leif Davis, yeah, but compared to the past, when you were producing consistently, because when Leeds went down, in a certain sense, in the early 2000s, you had players like Kilgallen, Fraser Richardson, in that side, Walton, Aaron Lennon. Then you had other players, McPhail, for example. All those players went under the early years. Milner, of course, at Leeds. You had players constantly produce. I think that changed. I think it was better even during the Redfern years. When Redfern was there, it was better. Why have we stopped producing top players? That's my players that can play consistently and play a part in the top 2 tiers. Because I remember when I was in high school, when we had Sam Byram, Charlie Taylor, Alex Mowat, Lewis Cook, all these players. And I remember when Chris Dawson, was really considered, in years earlier to the ones I mentioned, that it was highly talked of, Then you had Hausen earlier, So I don't think, I think people praised our academy, but yeah, maybe we're getting good results at youth football, but we're not, in a certain sense, we're not producing players that can be top players. And Leeds used to be one of the top academies in England. Yeah, it's a tough environment, tough competition, because yeah, these days, you have Man City, Chelsea getting all the best players, like Finlay Gorman, what happened with Man City, But I think it's still sustainable, because I see Atalanta producing a lot in Italy, despite Inter Milan, despite AC Milan, Juventus, and they are doing it the right way. They are one of the few academies, along with Fiorentina and Juventus, that produce some good players. Like Juve has produced Hausen, Ildiz, Sule, but they have not trusted them, So they are doing the opposite of us, They are producing, but they are not trusting them. Like Muaremovic, product of their academy, thriving at Sassuolo. Sule thriving at Roma. Ildiz, okay, the only one that stayed at Juventus. Hausen gone from Bournemouth to Real Madrid. So yeah, I think we can produce more, honestly. More players.
Yeah, it's one of them where it's a bit like, what's the issue? Why is that not happening? You look at Fulham, for example, King, their player in the middle, the young lad who's from their academy, ridiculous player. He's starting. Potts for West Ham, just off the top of my head, who started coming in now for West Ham and playing really well. These are two players that, if a starter, for example, in a Premier League team isn't playing well, there is always a youth option. I think we're the only team, maybe Burnley as well, just thinking off the top of my head,
Yeah.
that don't have a youth option on the bench that can genuinely impact the team.
I agree.
People, again, will talk about Gray. Gray's so young and has a lot to develop. For me, it is a worry. It is something because we're over relying on recruitment, where other clubs might say maybe we do need a backup left back. However, we have this young backup left back in the academy that we believe can come off the bench and develop. We clearly don't have that, or they'd be there. Obviously, we had Archie Gray. He was the one. He's gone. Now, after him, again, Creswell as well, who left. But now in the Premier League, there isn't. And obviously, this is nothing to do with talent. Like I said, watch the 21s a lot. Really good players, really talented players. They are. Some really good talent in that academy. But we're talking about players who have for me, it's physicality, Andrea. I like
Yeah.
our academy in terms of technical,
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me,
Absolutely.
there's not a standout physical player in there who can combine that with the technical attributes. Like you look at King, I think it's Josh King, I believe. I can't remember.
Yeah. Josh King. Yeah.
At
Fulham.
Fulham. He's a small guy, but his technical is through the roof. He's ridiculously good technically. Same for Potts at West Ham. We have good technical players, but we don't have outstanding technical players. Or, on the other hand, we don't have very good physical players with decent technical. And that's kind of what you need. What's that down to? I don't know. I think we do lose a lot of our top talents to Man City. There's Gorman, obviously. There's a few others. There's one or two others as well. I can't remember the names of them who were at Leeds or from Leeds for a start and went to Man City. I think as a young player, a lot of it is down to, obviously, look, there's the rules about paying and whether they're actually been paid on all that dodgy stuff. But the stuff we know is, and having lived right next to the Etihad campus before, I don't anymore, that campus is a joke. Any young player in the world would want to play there. It's an absolute joke. And I'm not saying Thorpe Arch isn't good. It is quite a decent, it's a good training. But there's a problem with location. It's out of the way. You kind of have to rely on, I think there's one bus like every 30, 40 minutes to get there. It takes ages to get there. I've tried to go there before, just from walking. It's far. From Leeds, it's far. It's not easy to get to unless you drive. But even then, it's out of the way. Again, structure and stature of the academy, investment. As a young player with a family, you're not really that bothered about the first team. You want the best facilities for your young player. And if you're Man City and you're saying, just look at our academy, it's the best in the world or one of the best in the world, of course you're going to go there. I don't think we can provide that. I do think our academy should be closer to the city centre. I think that would help massively. Obviously,
It was in the plans,
Yeah,
it was in the plans when they were searching for a new area to build a new training ground to get past Opach, to especially with the stadium plans. I think in the early plans it was like they plan to acquire also the land near the ground and make it like the Etihad campus in a certain sense, not in that majestic sense, but more logistic sense. But also they were looking at lands near the city center or even in the northern parts, near Headingley. So yeah, but I don't think that has gone. I don't think that those plans have gone on. To be fair, because I think they were met by some resistance from, I don't know if the city council or the in terms of funding. I don't know, or permits. Yeah.
Yes, there's the red tape in this country is a joke, mate. You can't do anything. But it's like that they're the issues for me. And this is where when Red Bull came in, I was thinking like, with the investment and what they want to achieve and what they've done at all the clubs they're involved in is the performance centres and the training centres of then clubs are the best in probably all the leagues they're in, right? The one in Leipzig, I believe they've got a new one in Salzburg. I say new, last few years, which is insane. I was thinking, and maybe that is in the plans in the future potentially, that their input can purely be performance and training regime to attract younger players. Because, if your training ground is backed by Red Bull funding and Red Bull technology and Red Bull performance, you're going to you're going to stand out, right? Particularly if you're not a top 6 Premier League club. Out of them, you will stand out. So that's where I thought maybe they could come in and invest in that. Maybe that will be in the future. I'm not sure. But for me, those are the issues, mate. I don't think it's a Leeds problem. Leeds has a big scouting pool, obviously. It's a big city. The surrounding areas are big. Yorkshire's massive. There's actually a lot of there's not a lot. There's 2 or 3 talents in Sheffield United's academy that are actually from Leeds as well. Now I look at that and think, why is that happening? We should swallow up all the best talent in Yorkshire for me. You know what I mean? I think we should. Well, or if we're not, we need to find a way to do that, because I think stature of the club, but we need to, and this is the problem. You need to convince these players, and I think that's the issue at the moment for me. But yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, finishing this off, going back to the point where we started on the World Cup, because of course, hearing about World Cup brings back good and bad memories. So just to finish it up, tell me about probably your earliest memory about the World Cup, then the best memory you have of England and the World Cup, and the worst memory that you have of England and the World Cup, because I think there's even been some dodgy episodes relating it to England where England were penalized, in the past, especially. Yeah.
We'll talk about that definitely. But the best one for me, and I was very, very young, it was the David Beckham. Was it the free kick?
Free kick against Greece, yeah, the final
Greece.
Qualifier game, yeah.
Qualifier game.
Sent you to the 2002 World Cup, yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of actual World Cup, I can't remember that. I remember the qualifying, and that for me is still a World Cup moment, right? Because it was the qualifying. That was the best, because I actually got into club football after that summer. So that was my kind of one of my first memories of watching football, and seeing that happen was just, mate, it was unbelievable. If I didn't watch that, maybe I wouldn't have loved football straight away. I don't know. Watching it with my dad in the front room, watching him celebrate, I had my little England shirt on, just seeing this guy just top corner. My dad would say, it's going in this, he ain't missing this. I went, why? Who's he? He went, that's David Beckham. I went, all right, don't know who he is, mate. And then unbelievable. And that's honestly, mate, that's where it ends, I'll be honest. I've had good memories within tournaments. So what was it, God? 2018 against Colombia. When was it, round of 16? Yeah, round of 16. We won on penalties 4-3. Eric Dyer with the final one. Pickford made a few saves. That shootout, that was the first time I'd seen us win a penalty shootout in my life, from what I remember, in a tournament. So that for me was the best, probably, individual moment that I can fully remember in a tournament. Go on.
Yeah, first time England won in any tournament a penalty shootout. So it wasn't just your first time, but the first time ever, probably, for England.
Yeah, genuinely, I remember it was the Euros and the World Cup, right, where we lost to Portugal on penalties.
Yeah, 2004, 2006, yeah.
Yeah, remember them. Yeah, that was my experience every year. 2014, obviously, under, was it Roy? I think it was Roy Hodgson at that time.
Hodgson, yeah. You were in our same group, yeah.
Yeah, where we didn't qualify. We finished bottom of the group. Obviously, we mentioned earlier on that first game against you guys, which was actually a good game, very good game, very competitive. And I thought, we'll actually be all right here. Italy are very good. We came close. We win the next 2. We didn't win the next 2. We had to go through. We obviously lost to
Uruguay.
Lost to Uruguay, then drew on the final game week against Costa Rica. And that was horror. That was horror. The years before that, 2010, again, I remember watching that school. Yeah, the against the US, Algeria, it was as well. I can't remember the third one.
Slovenia, I think. Yeah.
Slovenia. That was very forgettable. And then obviously, however, what wasn't forgettable about that World Cup was the game against Germany. And do you know what it was, mate? That was 2010 was the one where there's probably been most expectation in my lifetime, anyway, from what I remember. Obviously, the 96ers and the 90s, late 90s, sorry, we had a really good team. But for me, the 2010 one, I remember before it, the build-up was really good. You know, qualifying had gone good. We looked quality in qualifying. You know, the players we had, Lampard, Gerrard, Rooney, everyone in their prime, everyone performing for their club. We were serious, right? And the first few group games, we were kind of like, oh, it'll be all right. Once it comes to the tournament, if we get through. Once it comes to the knockouts, we'll be all right. We got through. Obviously, then we got to Germany. And you know what? We went, 2-0 down? But then something, I think it was 2-0 down, yeah. Something clicked. I think it was it 2-0 down? I can't remember.
Yeah. When Upson scored, I
It was.
think.
Yeah. And when that happened, something clicked. And suddenly, we sensed that we could get back into it. We were moving the ball well. We were winning absolutely everything. Honestly, Gerrard and Lampard and all them lot were playing like they did for the clubs. And I'm going, right, this is it. Finally, the moment's come. 2-0 down, 2-1. Now it's happening. And we were playing so well, mate. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, this is what we wanted to see. We can win this. Lampard hits it. I mean, come on. It was the most easy thing to spot I've ever seen in my life. It was so far in, as the commentator said. I was so angry. I cannot stress in that moment how angry. But then after that happened, the life went out of the players. And again, that's part of mentality. But because we were so good before it, we went 2-0 down and we reacted and we were really, really good. And I thought we're going to win this 4-2. Genuinely thought we were going to smash these. That happened, and you could tell the players just like, I can't believe we put so much effort into getting back to this, and then they just felt deflated, and then our mentality slipped. And then I think Germany scored 2 more after that, I believe.
Yeah, 4-1, I think it ended.
Yeah.
But then they scored 4 against Argentina the next game.
Yeah, this was they were the favourites. They were a really good team. And genuinely for 15, 20 minutes in that game, probably a bit longer actually, I thought, wow, we look really good here. This is England that I've been waiting for my entire life. So that is probably the worst, to be fair. That was horrible. I'm still not over it, and I don't think I should be. I think it was, to be honest, I think it's a disgrace, mate, that happened. I don't know why anyone didn't see it. That the ref or the linesman, I don't understand it. But anyway, and then we go on to 2014, which, I mean, we finished bottom. That was horrid. That was our team were a bit thingy then. I weren't too sure about it, to be honest. The players were coming off the prime, you know, they were on the down a bit like that. So that was kind of in between two eras. And then obviously now we're in 2018. That's when we start to look good again. Yeah. And then we beat Sweden after we beat we beat Sweden 2-0. Then obviously semi-final Croatia. Great start. And we did it again. We collapsed. That's my memories, mate, of England. It's collapsing. But it's seeing them actually play really well and going, oh, this is what we're asking for every year. And then completely collapsing. But then, do you know what, though? I was all right with that one because I actually saw an England team in that tournament. Because actually in that tournament, I thought we were really good. I thought we looked really good the entire thing. And it was kind of like 4 more years with this group of players and we'll be on to something here. Whereas I'm used to seeing the group stages of the finals, we kind of just go through it. We win, but we draw a few, we get through it. But in them, I actually thought we were really good. We played really well. And obviously, the last World Cup, even better. I remember at uni watching it when we won, 6-2 in our first game. Unbelievable.
Yeah, against Iran,
Yeah, and then I can't remember who was it after that, mate. I've forgotten. Let me get it.
I think it was Iran, Wales, and USA.
Yeah. The USA one was
USA and Wales. Yeah, USA and Wales because Wales lost.
Yeah. The USA one was horrible. Yeah, we beat Wales 3-0. Yeah, and that's it. I'm going. Oh, mate, we look serious. Obviously, then who did we have in the? Have a look. Yeah, Senegal 3-0 again.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a
very good.
Game.
That one.
It's a good team, good players, physical team, and we beat them 3-0. And then I'm going right. You know, genuinely thinking we look really good here, playing against the world champions, and was they? I can't remember at that time. I think they were right.
They were the reigning champions. Yeah.
And I was thinking, I'm genuinely not scared. I think we can beat these. And then obviously, the square it. Harry Kane should have squared it. That one. and then he missed the penalty. Oh mate, it were that for me. That hurt. That one.
I think if you had beat them, the final would have been, and imagine that, especially after 1986, it would have been England-Argentina, the final.
Oh, wow.
It would have been that final for me.
But yeah, so
because you were good in that tournament, to be fair.
But even then, when we lost to France, I was so angry in that game because I actually thought we were really good. Like if Harry Kane scores that penalty, we win that. I think we win that game. We looked so good. I remember, our midfield was a joke at every game. We were really good. The Euros again, was it before or after? It was the COVID, so it got a bit mixed up, didn't it?
Before, yeah.
Yeah, when we beat Germany with Calvin Phillips and all that. Like, that period was excellent. And for me, in a strange way, that penalty missed by Kane was kind of the end of that. But now, again, I'm looking back at it going, I really enjoyed that period. I can't be mad. I weren't mad at the team. I actually thought we just didn't have it in the end. And that's the difference. That's where we need that elite coach, that elite mentality to come into it. But Gareth Southgate set all that up for us. We were a failure, as I mentioned. Look at 2010. Look at 2014. Gareth Southgate made us competitive. We just need that elite tactical coach to just change things slightly when it's near the end of a game or when we're losing or when we're winning to keep that lead. And hopefully we have that because, yeah, going in, I'm so excited. I absolutely love the World Cup, Andrea. It's my favourite thing. I'm sorry to everyone that only loves club football. I love the World Cup. I do.
It's great. It's great, and it's my favorite too because you face teams from all over the world. But hearing you talk about all these World Cups really made me sad because it made me realize that realistically we only had one good World Cup. Because my earliest memory of a World Cup is the same as you. It was 2002, and I started football after that too.
Mm-hmm.
The first memory actually I have, apart from of course, like I always said, and that was destiny, because the first memory I have of a football game is actually Leeds AC Milan when Dida made this ball slip. And years after, I was watching some Leeds games for the past because my passion for history of football. And when I saw that, I was shocked. I said, no way, that was the goal, that flash that I had. I remember Dida was against a team with white shirts, but I would never imagine, it was Leeds, so it was I was destined, to fall in love with Leeds, because I remember the crowd erupted in the heavy rain, the white shirts and Dida, because I remember that my father was laughing when Dida, that's why I remember that, because my father was laughing when Dida let the ball slip into the goal, and very early memories, but the real proper consistent football memory I have of a football game in terms of consistent, not just one piece, is 2002. We had a team better than 2006. I just read you the strikers, in the squad: Del Piero, Inzaghi, Totti, Del Vecchio, Montella, and Vieri. And Roberto Baggio missed out from selection from Trapattoni. So yeah, and we had the strong. We even had Maldini, because in 2006 he wasn't there anymore, But then you had Cannavaro, Nesta, Zambrotta, Materazzi, Gattuso, Di Biagio, Di Livio, Tommasi. Very good mix. All players in their prime, But we started well, beat Ecuador. Then I remember, because I followed that World Cup as a kid, 6-year-old, of course, because I got this poster, when you had to put these magnets, of flags. You had the wall table, the wall stages of the tournament, and then you have, as everything progressed, you had to move the magnets, of the flags. So I remember asking when we lost the second game against our Adriatic neighbors, Croatia 2-1, why are we not out of the World Cup? I didn't know that the group stages were a thing, But I clearly remember, and it's a memory that never goes away, the South Korea game, round of 16, when one of the biggest robberies in the history of football. Byron Moreno, the referee, the referee, Ecuadorian referee, he got even arrested years later because he of possession of illegal substances in the USA.
Right. Okay.
But if you go and watch the highlights of that game, I think that is the biggest robbery in the history of football. It was so blatant. It was so open, you know. He whistled everything against Italy. There were like South Korean players elbowing our players, uh, kicking them without any foul, you know, from the referee.
Mm.
But I remember very vividly, you know, because in the end, it's similar to what happened with Germany against England, you know, in 2010. Our players got frustrated. You know, we scored against them with Vieri opening the score sheet. Then they got back into the game, and then they scored in extra time, golden goal. One of the few
Mm.
fewest goal, or one of the few golden goals scored in that period. You know, from Han Jun Wang in the last minute of extra time, before
Mm.
penalties, and he was playing in Italy for Perugia. So I remember vividly that South Korean player Han going towards the camera and that golden ball, the golden goal, you know, in the
Mm.
picture in TV, spinning around, you know. And I remember that I realized, you know, we have lost, we are out. And after that, eventually, the president of Perugia at the time, Gauchi, a very volcanic figure, you know,
Mm.
uh, he fired him because he said
Right.
it's Italy. So when he was at Perugia, he fired his player because he scored against Italy. So yeah, but yeah,
Wow.
I'll take 2002. That's earliest memory every time because it meant that we had that revenge spirit in 2006. Because
Mm.
was probably I was 10 years old. You know, that was one of the greatest summer of we have ever had. You know, I was fortunate enough to see the World Cup and the Euros win by Italy. But 2006, you know, final year of elementary school, we had a great team, but it was the time of the Calciopoli scandal, you know, the match fixing, the
Mm.
was referees when Juventus were demoted to Serie B, where AC Milan had appointed auction at the end of the season, and Fiorentina to many other top clubs. You know, the system was rigged. You know, it was done for because of the corruption in the system. So the press was saying we don't have to go to the World Cup. It's a shame. And many of the players played for Juventus eventually. They didn't know anything basically because the corruption was at between referees and certain individuals that were eventually banned for life from Italian football. You know, so it wasn't down to
Right.
the players knew nothing, the managers knew nothing. You know, but Lippi was the manager of Juventus for many years. You know, you had Del Piero, you had Buffon, you had many players for Juventus. So there was not much hope around the national team, and the press. Even the press from abroad saw us like, oh, they are the one coming from Italy where that corruption has taken place, you know, in the league. So nobody believed in us. We started with the uh, win against Ghana, then drew against the USA, beat the Czech Republic to either from Materazzi, and then we started to get unimaginable. You know, it was very tough against Australia in the round of 16s. They had Viduka, Kewell, uh,
Mm.
Neil, all these players, you know, Bresciano, Grella, all these players, also Craig Moore, for example, Schwarzer. Very tough game. We were down to 10 men, and the last minute of normal time, you know, Grosso counter attack, got into the area, got taken down by very easily. To be fair, I have to admit that very easily by Lucas Neal. Penalty. Totti, who was coming down after an injury, a tendon injury, you know,
Mm.
scored the penalty. We were through. Then we beat Ukraine 3-0 the next game very easily. And the semi-final was against Germany, you know, the hosts, our arch enemies, apart from France, you know.
Yep.
And we were playing in Dortmund, you know. I remember the standstill, the empty streets, everybody gathering to watch the games, you know. That game, they were the giants, we were the invaders, you know. And in their fortress, the Westfalen Stadion in Dortmund, they had never lost there, you know, or had never hadn't lost a game there like for years, for ages, you know. And they were playing at
Mm.
home, so they were pretty sure they were gonna get to the
Mhm.
final in Berlin, you know. It was one of the best games football I've ever seen, you know. Goal, post, crossbar, you know. Then final minute of extra time, corner kick, Pirlo takes the ball outside of the box when the ball gets there. No look pass to Grosso inside, and he scores. Then 1 minute later, Germany were trying to score. We record the ball to Cannavaro to Giardino. then Del Piero goes inside to nil. Man, every time I see that goal, it's always goosebumps, honestly,
Mm.
because the importance of that goal. We were playing in their place. Germany were always active with a moral ground against us. Especially
Mm.
after what happened between our countries in the past. There are a lot of Italians who live in Germany, and they saw that like a revenge, because the discrimination in the
Mm.
USA in the past, in the early waves of Italian immigration abroad, the discrimination Italians have faced. So all the tough dureness that they had to endure with all these years was paid back with that result. It was like even mixed families, like now we can really be proud and show our flags in the face of our German neighbors, in a certain sense, after all these years of hard work. But yeah, even the final, what can I say? The penalties was amazing, especially against France, But after that, it
Mm.
went completely into pieces, because 2010 we drew against Paraguay. We had Lippi again. He returned for that World Cup. But our team, the veterans from 2006, they were called up basically because many of them, they were the leaders in the dressing room, but they were past their prime. The young players weren't up for the level. Then drew against New Zealand. I remember very vividly seeing with one of my neighbors, one of the guys that was always playing football outside with the game against Slovakia, when we were so sure we were going to beat them. We had our destiny in our hands to get to the knockout stages. And against Slovakia, everything went wrong. We missed every kind of goal. We conceded very poor goals. One from a throw-in. Everybody was watching the ball on a side because they thought they're going to play it back. But Jędrzejek, the Slovakian forward, actually made a run between the Italian defenders, and they passed the ball to him with the throw-in, and he was alone in front of Marchetti, and he scored a 3-2, and we were out. And even again, they were starting to say, "Oh, we need to reform Italian football because we have missed the knockout stages." And now it looks tainting to miss out on knockout stages because we were getting to World Cups actually back then. In 2013, what can I say? Great memory against England, but yeah, the next two games, especially the Uruguay one, because we played better than them, I think. But after everything changed when Marquise was sent off unlawfully, he didn't need to be sent off, and when Suarez wasn't, when he bites Chiellini in that game,
Yeah.
and it felt very. I remember at the time people were saying, "Look at the Uruguayans; they have surnames like Fucile, Cavani." All Italian surnames, so they have Italian heritage, and they are knocking us out, in a certain
Mate,
sense. So, yeah.
The Suarez. Wow, that was the World Cup where Suarez handballed the
No,
evident
the one
goal.
after, yeah, the
Was
one
that the one
after that,
after?
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that because obviously we were in it, so I was supporting Ghana because I really liked Asamoah Gyan. I thought he was an unbelievable player.
Oh,
And
good one,
obviously
yeah.
he had the strike right, and Suarez handballed it off the line, and then got sent off, and Gyan missed the penalty. I was like, and then they lost on penalties. I was like, oh, that is brutal. And Suarez was celebrating off the pitch. I was like, no, this is horrible. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I finished. I remember just that World Cup you mentioned. Uruguay had Furlan was bugged. He had like a FIFA bug. He scored from every position. Basically, they were great
Yeah.
in that World Cup. Furlan, Suarez, and Diego Perez in the middle, Cáceres, Lugano. Yeah, very good side. Muslera in goal. Very very good side. Uruguay.
Yeah, we need more England England Italy World Cup stuff. Recent, it's not been very good, has it? Obviously,
Yeah.
Euros, we have that game in the Euros. Regardless of the result, it was an unbelievable match. It was a great game of football. Two countries and two teams that just really wanted to win. I absolutely loved it. It's same when we play Germany. It's always great as well. Same for you guys. I know these are the games I want to see. This is the thing with qualifying. It's so uncompetitive that it's frustrating because I want to see our team challenged. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, we need. I want to see Italy, England in this World Cup. If you get through,
Hopefully,
obviously.
man. If we get through.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That'd
I
be
think
great.
we can wrap it up for today. I think we talk about
Yeah.
many different topics. It was a very good chat as always, because we even get to talk about the past, our personal memories. So very productive as always. It was always a pleasure, Lucky, to to speak with you, catch up with you, and even about Leeds, and also national teams. And to wrap it up, it's always good to read the comments, because they don't gotta notice. You can see that sometimes you have my likes, in the comments. It's very good to hear the feedback, to hear even better when from a point we have started, we see even people debating about that within themselves in the comments. So it's very good to see the support so far. I want to say one final thing before we wrap it up. Remember what I said again. So get checked if you
100%.
if you wish to. Absolutely a good message to roll out. I don't know a better verb to use in this occasion, but yeah, it's important. And it's also important because remember when I wasn't there because of commitments, but Loki had played in that match when we the Leeds creators, the Leeds podcasters and YouTuber from all over, the British Isle, I know the Irish ones that won't like that term, but geographically, it's not my fault. They're called the British Isle, Ireland, of course. I'm going to say Ireland and Great Britain. Played in Leeds, and the charity that part and the event was Prostate Cancer UK. So it's always important to remember these important messages and support, especially when when uh, when Christmas is approaching. It's something that I really like to talk about. I urge everyone to also have a thought about others, because it's important to care both about yourself but also about others who are in need. Yeah. So even abroad from the health system, but also to the persons and people in need, and these charities do a lot in terms of research in the health system, and also the other charities who really do, like last season. I can say that openly because it doesn't play for us anymore, but yeah, I made a contribution because it was a very good project to the Gilavogi one, where he built a orphanage for in the country of his parents, in Guinea. So yeah, I think that I wanted to say that it's really good. I think, especially towards Christmas, to do something also for others, because we know that Leeds is, after all, side before self.
Yeah, I just want to add to that just very quickly. I'm not preaching to anyone here. It's just there's a big homeless problem in this country, and it saddens me. It genuinely does. And I'm sure there is. I just hope that the people that like you spoke about Gilavogi there, people that are from here, from this area, or from whatever city they're in, are doing what they can to help these people, because it's sad. It's one of them things that I really want to change. But obviously, I can't build houses. I can't build, shops to have food. There's a lot of good people, especially in Manchester, who food banks that give free food. They're in the streets with warm food and bed sheets. And I just hope that maybe the footballers and people like that are doing the same to help, because there's a lot of people homeless in this country, in cities, and it's a bit of it's quite sad when you walk through, So I know they won't be watching, so I don't know why I'm saying no.
It's good to.
I hope they help him.
No,
But yeah.
we all have a voice, so even if they're not watching, someone else will, and it's good because when you transfer your opinion, maybe you can influence someone else, and it can, pass on. You can pass on the torch. Everyone can pass on a torch, I think. So yeah, I think we also show now that football has broader messages. Football in terms of values can be a metaphor of life itself. So yeah, another good pot, and the last not pot, sorry. We'll leave that to the herbology lessons in Hogwarts. Another good pod with the D. The last thing I can say is long live football, and great to chat with you again, Lockie, and goodbye everyone, and have a great evening, lads. Bye bye.
See you later. Bye bye, everyone.